Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show, where we take a look at the best business practices from the best dental practices all over the country. We are so excited to have you here because this is the place where you want to come, where we'll just share with you great tips. We're an active community of learning young professionals and sometimes mature professionals, where we just want to help you create a better practice and a better life. If you're here for the first time, I just want to do two things. Number one, just welcome you. Welcome for showing up. You're going to see some great stuff today. And I have a very special friend who's an unbelievable human being and an incredible clinician. And the second thing I want to do is just encourage you to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it be Apple, iTunes, or Google Play, or Stitcher, or anything. Keep showing up, because you'll see every single week we're going to be bringing new experts, opinion leaders in dentistry, just to bring you thoughts, just to improve how you look at your practice, your life, and everything. And today is no exception. You are absolutely going to love this. Also, we take a lot of show notes here. And so I'm going to encourage you to come back. Everything that we talk about today, you'll see we're going to put in the show notes, links to Dr. Mugford's practice and everything. You'll be able to reference that super easy. And lastly, just keep sending us suggestions. I got a lot of them this week of things that you guys want to see, things that are important to you, or just anything you're curious about. And we're happy to put those on. And this is a very special part of a series, the Seattle Study Club Symposium. A lot of these people are my friends. And Dr. Michael Cohen, as I was talking to him this summer, he was such an instrumental, an inspirational part of my career. I got a chance to speak to all these incredible study clubs. And David, I've been to your study club. What an incredible group of people. Gorgeous part of the country, great people. It was so fun. But today we're going to be talking about the single biggest challenge to a successful practice. But before we get into that, I always like people to know who we're talking to and hear a little bit of your story. But tell us your story, just a little bit of who you are, where you practice, all that kind of stuff.
Thanks, Kirk. So I'm a periodontist, and I've been in this area now for a little bit over 30 years. And yeah, I got to tell you, I love what I do. Mm-hmm. I get to practice with the best group of people on my team, and we do some great work together. Something that, when you look at all of this fantastic dentistry that's out there, that's what we get to do pretty much every day. Yeah. And, I wake up in the morning and go, wow, how did I get to be so lucky? Mm-hmm. And, it was luck. But the thing that really brought it about was I started working with some good friends when we started, general dentists, orthodontists, oral surgeons in this area. And for some reason, we all bound together around the idea of continuing education. We got to be CE junkies. There's a lot of people who just love going to CE all the time. But one of our members said, if you go to CE and you don't implement it, it's entertainment.
Yes, so, that's true.
We didn't plan it this way, but we all started to go as a group in this Annapolis area. So we'd all go to Dawson and do his continuum together, the specialists, the general dentist, the prosthodontist, oral surgeons, orthodontists. So we all were going together. And so we experienced it as a group, and we could talk about it. And then we bring it back. And rather than just kind of, whenever you go to a CE, I don't know, you come back, you're all fired up. I'm going to put this into practice. And then the first thing that happens is the assistants go, oh, here he comes again. He went to that CE course. Don't worry. He'll simmer down a week or two. And they'll forget all about it and nothing will happen. That's what they're hoping for. So when you get to go with other people all at the same time, you're going on the journey together, you can kind of hold each other accountable and just say, yeah, how's that going? Are you doing what we learned?
Yeah.
And then the expectations get raised up.
Yeah. Now I feel, I want to piggyback on that too, because you and I met through the Seattle Study Club Symposium.
Absolutely.
I had a chance to actually, I can't remember if I came out to your club before or after, but you're kind of royalty. And I'm going to call us like you are actually the world champion. Your team was world champion treatment planning champions, correct? Like you're no slouch. I mean, you know what you're doing there. And now, if somebody doesn't know Seattle Study Club, they don't know what world champ, just give us a little sample of what that means and how you and I got to meet.
So we started this group, as I was telling you, and we started to embrace the concepts of interdisciplinary dentistry, working together as a team. And what I was looking for was something to take it even further. And although we were working this way, I wanted to spread the love, so to speak, get more people to understand what it's like to work together as a team, as not as competitors, but as colleagues. As a matter of fact, one of our team members, when we had an award, said, you know, I'd like to thank Dave for making us all to think like colleagues and not as competitors, and we all come together. So I had tried study clubs on my own, but when I hooked up with the Seattle Study Club about 12 years ago, it just went to a whole nother level. It brings in all of the elements of why we do what we do. Friendship, especially. It's a big part of it is having friends and having relationships. So it's really why we do what we do. We forget about it sometimes because we put our heads down and, you know, nose to the grind wheel and work. But in the end, it's about your friendships. And Seattle Study Club is all about that. It really inspires you in so many different ways. And so right from the get-go, when I started going to Symposium, it just knocked my socks off. It was unbelievable. You know, I just remember going to all of the events and I was getting tired from going to the events, but I said, I can't miss it. It's too good. I gotta go to see all these world-class speakers. And then the fun part is when you go to the bars afterwards and you get to talk to them as real people, not the people that are just up there showing you the fancy, glitzy presentation. They're real people, and they'll tell you exactly, you know, what they're doing, and they're just terrific people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's one of my favorite things. Obviously, it's like the most incredible CE experience of ever, but those relationships stick forever too. Some of them, like I'll just text them on a daily basis and I'm like, gosh, that guy was like a big speaker. Now, like we're friends and we put each other in headlocks whenever we see each other type of a thing, you know. And David, I want you to talk about this because it's an experience that we know near and dear to our heart, which is Seattle Study Club and Symposium, the most incredible experience of all time. But this year's a little different because of the pandemic, and this year it'll be virtual. So if I'm a young dentist watching this, let's say I'm, you know, a GP or even a specialist, and I'm like, David, what is it like? Virtual, like, is it just going to be a bunch of speakers? Explain it from your heart. How would you describe it?
One of the things that Michael has really poured his heart into in creating Seattle Study Club is the whole experience. And so he engineers every symposium for maximum results. He's looking at the clinical, but also the personal side, the business side. It's always up to date. And you know, the events that he has planned. Now, of course, we'd all like to see the real thing. I mean, that's the way it is everywhere. But I know he has put so much work into making this an outstanding event. And it's a great primer for those people who have never experienced Symposium, maybe because it's too far to travel, too expensive, and they're not quite sure what it is. Now you get a little taste of it so that the following year, you're going to want to be part of it.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about this year is not only will it be virtual, but you'll be able to enjoy it from your home. If you don't have to be a member. Now, this wasn't always the case, and it was a little bit hard to get in. But now, if you're even interested a little bit, he's opened it up so that you can actually experience it. And I completely agree. It's not just clinical; it's life skill, it's business, it's body like mechanics. It's I still use a lot of the parenting things that I've learned. It's, and not that I'm doing well with that, but it's amazing how well rounded all those that education is. Yeah,
It's an experience. When at the end of it, it's like going on a retreat and just coming back uplifted, inspired, and ready to move forward. And we all really need that.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
the other thing is, if for those people who are not Seattle Study Club members, hopefully this will encourage them to seek out becoming members in study clubs, especially the Seattle Study Club.
Totally agree. And I want to talk to you on that topic because as you and I were talking before we went live, the single biggest challenge to being successful in a practice, like if you were to give a piece of advice to a young clinician, what is it? What's the single biggest challenge?
So I think one of the biggest mistakes that happens is in our training, we're taught that we've got to get through because of our own efforts. So we're graded on our crown preps, we're graded on our dentures, and then no one else is going to help us with that. We have to do that on our own. Then we get out into the real world and we get into a little office. We don't get to see anyone other than our staff. And then we start to just chug along and do the best that we can. And we get isolated. And we all know, I think, especially with what's going on with COVID and our isolation, it kind of sucks. It's not fun.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah. More than that. Yeah.
And why would we want to do that to ourselves for our whole profession? So I really think that one of the most limiting factors in success is when we try to do it all by ourselves. And I think that we have there's certain inner belief of how much we're capable of doing.
Yeah.
It's based on looking around our circumstances, and we'll set our own bar, our own limitation. When you start to work with and become friends with other dentists that have been out there for a while, to set up mentorships, you start to see what the possibilities are. And you can actually know if they can do that, hey, I can do that too. And it kind of lifts you up. So rather than insurance companies telling you, this is the way it is, just take our fees and that's the way you should do dentistry, you can actually see other ways of doing it. So,
right. And I've been to your club too, and you guys, it's the real deal. Not only you guys are incredible clinicians, but you guys actually love and care for each other, and you challenge each other. Do you know what I mean? Like you'll hold each other accountable. Like it's a pretty cool environment that you have. And David, you hear these questions, and I'll play the 32-year-old dentist right now. Like, Dr. Mugford, I totally understand, but I have a lot of debt, and I've been reading all these, forums, like you make more money if you keep it in-house. What would you say to me? Like, help me understand a little bit further down the road. Is that good for me? Is it not good for me? And I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion, but tell us your thoughts.
Well, I think that one of the things is that the relationship between the specialist and the general dentist has changed over a long period of time. In years gone by, the specialist was revered, not questioned, and everything was sent to the specialist automatically. That actually wasn't particularly healthy. That wasn't a relationship. That was a one-way relationship, and there was no growth necessarily with that. Really, I think that the responsibility of a specialist is to serve as mentors, and also what I do, which is to try to take care of the community, try to lift up the whole community through Seattle Study Club.
Now, also too, like go back to that when you're talking about, working as a specialist to like.
As a specialist, what I really feel is we need to establish a team, as opposed to a hierarchy where it's one or the other.
Right.
Really, we need to be supporting each other all the way. And so for example, let's just take placing dental implants. One of the scary things I got to tell everyone when they're starting out is that if you're going to place implants, you're going to have complications.
Yeah. So today, Bill, I'm so excited to have you here because we can dogpile on one of our good friends here who's an amazing human being, unbelievable specialist. And we're going to be talking about the biggest challenge in dentistry, which is just the isolation factor and why it's so important to have a team. But he's talking about like having a team of specialists, experts, where, you know, we raise each other up. And Bill, you're really good at endo, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. My specialty.
Yeah.
Endo and implants. That's what I do a lot of.
There you go. Hey, I'm going to have my video guy put this all together, but give us a few kind words about this amazing man that we're talking to right now.
All right. So I've had the pleasure of being on the stage with him a time or two, and I've had the pleasure of being at his study club. And the cool thing, I mean, you know, everybody that comes on this show knows about teeth and gums and implants and all. But Dr. Mugford is an interesting guy because he's got a very interesting life outside of being a periodontist. And that's a lot of the personal work that he does. And I don't know that you know about that, but I think we should get into that a little bit too, because I think in a lot of ways, that's the thing that I have found most fascinating about him. And that's the effort he's put in to his personal work and becoming, you know, more on the human being side, as well as being a great periodontist.
Yeah, let's go there. Tell me more. Tell me more. What are you guys referring to?
It's to you, Doc.
Well, I think Bill said about Symposium and the whole Seattle Study Club family. He said, "This is my family." And when you got up on stage a few years back, you said, "This is my Seattle Study Club family, and I love them all." And that really is the heart of the whole thing, is that we're all there for one another. We're taking care of each other, and we're really trying to help each other be the best people that we can be. And that's what really is the most fulfilling part of what I do. It really is. And sure, we can do great dentistry, but if it's just great dentistry for ourselves, that's nothing. We do it for our patients, and we do it so that we can elevate our level of practice to become better people as we do it. So.
Yeah, and I was also talking about your involvement with growing outside of dentistry, with Tony Robbins and all those things that we talked about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that. So have you been doing a lot of work on that? No, I don't know. Like, I only know you as a great human being. I've had many drinks with you. And I mentioned this earlier, but like, he's treatment plan royalty. Like, this guy's won the national, like, he's no slouch. So,
you know, I think that you just have to push yourself all the time. So I'm doing it in all areas. And one of the areas that Bill was talking about is I've done quite a few seminars with Tony Robbins as well. I guess I'm that CE junkie, but it's the life CE junkie. And I got to say, I was one of those people that walked over the coals.
Wow.
And that's an experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's building your self-image, your belief in human beings, and it can drive you just to have a more fulfilling life. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, go back to this. Okay, being a dentist is hard. Now, I'm not a dentist, but you guys are both married. Your wife or your spouse can only take so much of you talking about the practice. And isolation is, you know, being an entrepreneur in anything. You feel like you're alone at times. Like, you feel like no one understands you. You go to your team and you say, I want to do it. And they're like, oh my gosh, what is he talking about? Like, I've told you 9 times. And they go, I've never heard that before. Like, and then you end up talking to yourself. Talk about this. And isolation is even more important than ever now. The mental health issue is strong. Can you talk about the reality of isolation in dentistry?
Absolutely. And I think we really have gotten an unfortunate taste of it with COVID, and the stress level for the whole world and dentists is just on the rise. And the only antidote to that is relationships. And so we've been doing all sorts of work to try to keep our club together. We have chat networks going, and we are doing virtual meetings. Normally when we have our meetings, we'll all have a toast and have a little bit of wine. So we're just sending out bottles of wine to everybody for each meeting and saying, let's have a virtual toast. And it's just nice little things like that.
Now, and again, I get all these questions, and Bill, I'd love for you to chime on this. One of the core elements of what you guys do is you guys treatment plan so well. This is critically important, because if I'm a young dentist, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's really cool to see. I've watched you guys do this. I see the thinking, like some of the thinking is so complex yet simple. Like, can you talk about that? How important the treatment planning process is? And you never get there. You're constantly refining it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as I was talking earlier, I think that the thing is that if you can go on this journey with other people, it's always better. And for the young dentist, I think the most important thing is to be able to pick a mentor, and so that you can start to work together as a team, and that mentor can support the new dentist. When the dentist has a question like, should I be doing implants or not? And I answer that question straight up. I say, it's a big responsibility. If you're going to do it right, and do it responsibly, and do it in the best interest of the patients. And if you're going to do that, I think that you need to partner with a specialist. Always have your team that's got your back. I have many of my referrals, they place their own implants, and they have me as their backup. If there's ever a problem, I take care of it. If they're more complex, they'll refer them over to me. So this is a teamwork where we're not, you do the implants, I do this, we're working together. And that's kind of working out, how it works. So I have some people who don't want to touch an implant with a 10-foot pole. Others want to place a lot of them. That's fine. You want to have the team put together. And the other thing is you want all have the same language. We're talking about dentistry. When we're talking about comprehensive treatment planning, one of the great things about Seattle Study Club is we all start to talk the same language, which elevates everybody to a higher level, so we can bring back into the practice and then share that with our patients.
You obviously have created, not necessarily you created, but your group has created this amazing treatment planning team that we've seen so many times over the years, at Symposium. And, I've got a great deal of respect for Woody and Joe and you and Janae and the whole crew. Can you tell us how you put that together? I mean, that's kind of a special higher level subset of a normal Seattle Study Club, what you've created.
Thanks, Bill. So Kirk and I were talking earlier that it was a little bit of dumb luck. And what I was saying is that you really want to have a team, and you want to get that team as soon as you can in your career. I just happened to be fortunate enough that early on, there was this big drive to go to Dawson and Pankey, and then later on go to Spear. So rather than each one of us going to these courses by ourselves and then bringing it back, we went together. We said, hey, I'm going to this course. So, and great friendships were developed that way because we did it together. And we were all working on the same page to try to do comprehensive dentistry, and understanding that if you don't think interdisciplinarily, if you're not thinking about what can be done outside of just restorative for a case, or just orthodontic, or just periodontal, the treatment is limited. Whereas if we're thinking, how can we take all of these tools and apply them to help our patients, and understand how all of the team members can work together to do this best, that's that's how we think. And we've just our whole career done that. And that's the one thing we're saying. What would my advice be? As soon as possible, form an interdisciplinary team, get educated together. I've gone to restorative courses. I went to Jack Turbypill's denture course. I don't know if you know Jack.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Great guy. I remember him saying, I've never seen periodontists down here in Georgia going to a denture course.
Did you go into his practice? Because I've heard that's like an experience on its
Yeah.
own, like
Yes.
the whole deal. Yeah.
So it's, but the thing is, in terms of understanding the treatment planning, setting up dentures, it's huge. So I'm a periodontist. I don't do that, but I understand it.
So the interesting thing to me is that you have created with these folks, with these other 4 or 5 people that is this really world-class treatment planning team. Is that problematic for your study club in terms of the younger dentist and thinking, how can I be a part of this, or will I ever be good enough to be a part of this? I mean, it's a little bit of a special subset in your specific club. How do you manage that?
Well, what happens, we just, rather than having an exclusive club, just our team that we present with, we have gone to great efforts to educate everyone else on what we're doing. We've shared our treatment planning templates, and also everyone feels as though they can pick up the phone at any time and talk to any other study club member and ask them a question. And the other thing is that the ones that we've been treatment planning with and presenting, actually quite a few more in our group have gone through this whole process, and they are all at this level. It's an amazing group, and it's a big part of it because we all raised one another up right from the beginning because we did it together as friends.
Yeah.
And so
I heard a specialist say this at one time. He said, "You're not going to be able to live long enough to make all the mistakes that we've made together. So like don't try to do that, And I think what you're speaking to too, David and Bill, tell me if you agree. Like, I think if I was to tell young dentists anything, number one, spend the rest of your life hanging around with the right type of people, build a great team, discipline, and then also as fast as you can, find out what you're really good at and what you suck at, and give your energy to the things you're really good at. Because I meet young dentists all the time. They go, "I love endo." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, you don't." And then they go, "I do." And I'm like, "No, you don't." So, I mean, I get it if you are, but I mean, the faster you can become happy in dentistry, I think the better long term, the better care too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So well, what you're saying there is that there's we call that, there's the cutting edge, and then there's the bleeding edge. You don't want to be on the bleeding edge. That's when you taking the cuts and getting beaten up by being out there and making the mistakes. You let somebody else teach you, learn on their mistakes, stand on the shoulders of giants, and instead of getting beaten up all the time.
Absolutely.
So organizations pretty much all have a life cycle like we do, I think, like a human does. And there's the beginning and the excitement part, and there's the growing part, and there's the mature part, and then there's the end game part. Where do you see your study club right now? What stage of the life cycle is your study club in?
So I think we are at we're in a midlife point where we're deciding, are we going to take it to the next level? And really, for me, it's being able to bring more people into what we've done, because there's a whole new crop of new dentists that are coming out. And it's our responsibility to help to give them the same benefits that we've had. And so when we first started doing this, we had to go travel to Florida and Seattle, Arizona, and that was a big threshold when you're a young dentist. Whereas now, what we can do is, in our group, we've kind of gone through everything, and now we need to bring up the next generation, so to speak, and pass it along and shorten their curve. So if anything, I'd love to see the younger dentists be able to get to where we got to faster and enjoy things for longer.
Sure. Sure.
David, that great man that we're talking to over here, one of the first meetings when I was hugging him at the bar, he said to me as I was getting to know him, because he was talking to me, I was so excited that he was actually talking to me. He said, Kirk, you know, one of the primary responsibilities we have in life is, I said, what is it? He said, we got to leave the campfire in better condition than we found it. I was like, oh, this is my guy. I tell my son that all the time. And he's like, Dad, we don't camp. I'm like, that's not the point. But I think that's what you're speaking to, is we got to leave the next generation in better shape, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about this noble industry is it's a pretty cool industry where people care about the next level coming up. Bill, you do it all the time. You're always investing in the youth. Heck, I got kids thinking about going to dental school. I send them down to his office. They're like, I was in the great Bill Robbins practice. He's brilliant.
And that is the fun part. So it's a good segue to my next question, Dave, and that is, how are you inputting new people into your club? Are people on a list standing in line? Do you have to go look for them? How is it going with your specific club?
So one of the things is, I'll be honest, this type of a club isn't for everybody. You know, what they said is, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right.
And so I'm working with a lot of dentists, and when they start asking the right questions, showing an interest in personal development, that's when I'll invite them to come into the club. I've had a lot of people that want to join the club. And I've actually I meet with them one-on-one and I ask them questions. And if they're not ready to be part of a group, they say, you know, I just need to get a little bit more CE so that I can meet my state requirements. That's not the right person, because I'll tell them straight up, you know, you may be the newbie, but you know some things that we don't know. And it's your responsibility to be part of the group and to share what you know. And life skills, you know, everyone knows something that they can share. And I think that's really been one of the secrets of our group, is that we all are there for one another and we value each other. So there's not this, you know, we're the old guys and we're going to tell you how to do it, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that I don't know about that this next generation coming up know about. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well,
social media and
yeah, that's right.
You know, the environment that we're all working in, it's changing.
Yeah,
it's a great thing because we all push one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to end with two last questions as we kind of wrap this up, because I know we only get you for a little bit here. And I want to ask both of you this question. If I'm a young dentist watching this, what can I expect on the horizon? What can I look forward to in 3 decades? You know, and I'll couple that with this question, which is, have you guys ever seen a more exciting time to be a dentist?
I'll tell you, I'm thrilled with what's happening in terms of how quickly things are developing. We're taking conceptually what we've known as dentists, and now we're getting the tools to be able to really implement them at a high level. And so as digital dentistry is becoming a big part of what we do, I'm just seeing that we can do even better than we did in the past. But I also think that you need to know the basics. You have to understand, you know, what dentistry is about, all the concepts, because the computers can't do it for you. Eventually, you're going to have to take what the computer might generate and put it into a human being, and you have to understand how to interact with a human being. So, you know, everything changes, but everything stays the same. The one thing I would say is this is a great profession because I've got some friends. All my patients are my friends. And you just go into the office, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to practice to your highest ability for your friends. And so I just think that as things are developing, there's certainly some challenges. that we're all going to be facing with business structures, corporate structures, overhead, debt, cost of what we're doing. But we'll get through it all, and we'll come out at the end, and it's a wonderful profession to be in.
Amen.
As a matter of fact, I'll tell a story.
Please.
So my daughter was supposed to be getting married this past September. That's gotten put off, and her fiance is a periodontist. He's in a residency. So I'm really thinking what's the next 30 years going to be like, because he's going to be joining me in June. And I'm excited. I can't wait to show him all the things, and he is going to just take off. I just know it. I'm going to start him right off the bat, and he's going to skip over all of the stumbling blocks that I had, and he's going to be doing fantastic.
Yeah. Well, that's a unique opportunity. I had a friend that brought in his son-in-law too, and he said, hey, on the first day, okay, you better do good here, and you better do good for my daughter, or you're in double trouble. So,
well, that's going to be in the contract.
That was pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. Well, how cool is that? Well, Bill, give us your thoughts. I want to hear from you.
Well, I agree with David. I mean, I think the future is incredibly bright. Sort of a segue to that, my son is a second-year dental student, and so we'll probably not practice together because I'm slowing down and he's still got a ways to go. He's only in his second year, but he does live at home now because he's going to school in San Antonio. And so I get to, he's living with us, which is really fun. My wife and I have just had a great time having him in our home. And he worked in my office for a year before he went to dental school. So he's been home for quite a while. And so I'm going through dental school with him right now. And it's funny. His frustrations are exactly the same as mine were and yours were. I mean, the technology's changed, but the frustrations are the same. And I think it's going to be true for the rest of his career. And that is that if he took a minimal interest in dentistry and enjoyed doing other things and didn't grow in dentistry, then I think it is a sentence in a prison to do dentistry the way we learned to do it in dental school. And so I do think there's going to be a significant room at the top for that group of dentists that wants to do the kind of dentistry that David and I do and that members of his study club do. I think for that group, dentists, the golden age of dentistry is ahead of us, there's no doubt, because of just what David said, and that is the technology has just made it so much more fun now. Not only better, but it's more fun also. But I think the corollary to that is that, which has always been true, and that is if you're a mediocre dentist and you don't really care a lot about dentistry and growing in dentistry, I can't even imagine sitting at the chair for 40 years doing single tooth dentistry the way I learned to do it in dental school. So I think the future is in mentorship, and I don't know anywhere else to get mentorship, really real mentorship, except through a study club. So I think the future of dentistry to some degree is tied at the hip with the future of the study club type systems. The one that David and I are in, and you too, Kirk, is obviously Seattle Study Club, and I think it's the greatest. But there's obviously other ways to do it also. But I think the future, the positive future for that group of dentists that want to grow, I think it's going to be very difficult to do that without being part of a study club.
Yeah, so well said. I don't know who said this, Bill, but I love what you just said is like, it's not the bottom, it's not the top that's crowded, it's the bottom. Like the opportunity exists at the top. And you're right, you got to be excited about it. I watched the excitement on both of your faces. And it's like, you guys both look like little kids. What's the name of your dog, Bill, that's happy every day? Layla? Is it Layla? Lulu. What are we having today? Yeah. Dog food. Awesome. What are we doing today? Like you're always excited. It's cool. Yeah. So, and on that note, I mean, this is where we started the conversation where we all know each other. I'm going to encourage you, if you're watching and you're a young dentist or even a mature dentist, or you're just trying to find your way in dentistry, I'm going to encourage you to check out the Seattle Study Club Symposium. Maybe you guys could give a quick word. Just what are we going to experience coming up here in the symposium as you look at these great faces?
Well, one of the things I got to say is the symposium has the energy that's going to get you going. It's going to inspire you to be the best that you can be. And the other thing is all of these experts are going to give you insights as to where dentistry is going in the next 30 years. It's going to allow you to be part of that wave that's coming, as opposed to, as you're saying, being that mediocre dentist that's on the wrong side of the wave. So this is absolutely a fantastic experience, and anyone who hasn't been to Symposium or anyone who's not part of the Seattle Study Club should absolutely consider being part of it this year.
So the key issue is you can't go to this symposium unless you're a member of the Seattle Study Club. So if somebody's listening to this, and again, it sounds like we're like paid advertisements for Seattle Study Club, and that's not true for either of us. I mean, we're just satisfied customers is all we are. But dentists who are looking for that mentorship relationship that they've been talking about, I think Seattle Study Club is one of the greatest places. And looking at this group of people that are speaking, I'm going to say that essentially there's nowhere on earth you can go and hear this group of people over 2.5 days for the minimal cost that it's going to cost us to go to this virtual symposium. This is an unbelievable group array of people. And I don't know all these people, but I know a lot of them. And I have an opportunity to hear a lot of American dentists speak either in person or through webinars and so on. But I don't have an opportunity to hear a lot of the amazing dentists, especially younger dentists, but some mature, amazing dentists too, from all over the world. And that's what Michael Cohen puts together in this symposium. And it's not that difficult to get the best of the United States. The trick is getting the best from around the world. And that's what he has the ability to do. So I'm very excited about this symposium because I'm going to get to hear some people that I've only seen on Instagram or in little snippets. I've never really been able to hear them tell their whole story. So that's what I'm excited about, is the international flavor of this meeting.
I agree. It's so cool. It's so cool. So if you're watching this, you're going to see we're going to post links below to the symposium. Just click on it. Whether you're listening to the audio podcast or you're just watching on video, you'll see both of those down there. I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Dr. Mugford and Dr. Robbins. Just get to know them. Make them your friends. They are nice guys. They'll respond to you. And then when the world goes back to normal, we can all have a drink together at the bar. And that is what life is all about. So thank you guys for joining me. I know, David, I kept you way longer than I promised. So send my apologies to your family. And I look forward to when we can all get together. So stick around while we say goodbye to everybody else. But thank you guys for watching the Best Practices show. If you enjoyed today, which I know you did, just do us a favor, hit the share button, share with your friends. Keep sending us suggestions for things you want to see in the future. And until we see you again, keep watching the Best Practices show. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day.